like to call the special board meeting of August 29th, 2022 to order. Can you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Black.
Present.
Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Mayor McCoskey.
Present. Can everybody please rise? Trustee Palakis, you want to lead us to the church? I need to get out.
Pledge allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome you all to this special board meeting. We usually don't quite have this crowd when we have a regularly scheduled board meeting, but we know there's a great deal of interest in what has been going on. I'm Mayor Bill McLeod. We have on the end there Trustee Michael Gata, Trustee Gary Palafis. Oh, there's Anna in between there. Trustee Anna Newell. We're blocking you. Clerk Beth Romanoff. And Trustee Karen Mills, Trustee Gary Stanton, Trustee Karen Arnett. We also have Police Chief Kasha Cawley here and Assistant Chief Thomas. We also have the Fire Chief with us here. He's somewhere in the audience. There he is. Okay. And our Village Manager, Eric Palm. We have a lot of the village staff here. And we also have Chris Foss, who's a representative, a state representative in attendance here today. And so, without any further ado, Chief, you want to make your presentation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board, for setting this up and for the support that you give the police department through the years. Thank you all for being here. We really value the partnership with the community, and it's so important and so vital. So thank you for being here. It's huge for us. I'm going to introduce just a couple more people. These guys, this is a lot of our command staff, and they came out here on their own time because they wanted to be part of this. They knew how important this was. So I'll introduce them and tell you what they do at the police department. We also have Pete Merkovich back there. He is our Fire and Police Commissioner. So I wanted to introduce him as well. So this is Assistant Chief Jim Thomas. He oversees our investigations division. This is Lieutenant John Bending. He is our night watch commander. So he is in charge of operations during the night. Lieutenant Suzanne Levin, she is our day watch commander. So again, in charge of the patrol operations during the day. Mark Wandakowski is our traffic sergeant. He runs our traffic division, which is a strong focus on traffic problems, fatal crashes, serious crashes. So that's mostly what he handles, parking complaints, stuff like that. Lieutenant Scott Lawrence, he is our commander of our investigations division. So he oversees the big investigations and even the smaller ones. And then we have Matt Park, Officer Matt Park. He is our community relations officer. So he deals a lot with ongoing animal complaints, neighbor complaints, any kind of nuisance problem you could think of, he usually deals with. And then we have Officer Matt Jones, and he is our DARE officer and also a community relations officer. Okay? So again, thank you for being here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Our agenda today is we did the introductions and we're going to review some of the cases. I know that some of you have some questions about some of the stuff that's going on, so we're going to review some of the stuff that I think that you're interested in. We're going to tell you the work that we're doing, how we're handling this, how we do some of our patrols, and how we're handling this right now. And then things that the residents can do to help protect yourselves as well, some crime prevention and safety tips for you guys. And then there's some new initiatives that we're looking at doing that we're working on right now, so we'll go over that as well. And then we're just going to open it up for questions. So anybody would be welcome to come up here and ask a question, and we will address it. So recent criminal activity. We focused here on commercial burglaries. So we had in April, we had the Crank Revolution burglary to that. I know many of you are aware of it. That is an ongoing case. There were other bike shops that were burglarized, not in this area, but we're trying to make those connections. And it's an ongoing case, and we're following up on leads on that as well. Then we had two incidents. So we had one May 16th, and then we had one August 8th. And that's both when the Buc-ee's and the Cardinal Liquors were burglarized. Two different places, one incident on two separate times. So I will tell you that on two of these, our patrol officers discovered the burglaries while on routine patrol. And then on two of them, we were called, and our response time was less than 3 minutes for that. So we are actively working this. I will tell you, it's an ongoing investigation, so it's difficult for me to give too much information, but I will tell you that we have identified two crews of people who are doing this. These crews are 10 to 15 people in a crew, and they've been doing it all over Illinois, Wisconsin, and Indiana. They've committed 80 of these in the surrounding areas since April. So we're working with the ATF on this. We are working with the Attorney General on this. We're working with 25 other villages and municipalities on this. So this is an ongoing operation. It's something that we take very seriously. It's something that we're constantly working. But these investigations take a long time sometimes because we're doing search warrants. We're trying to get some data back. Sometimes those search warrants, it takes months to get that information back. So we are working on those. I don't know if you're in the paper this week, or last week, there was an article about the gaming machines that were burglarized, and we worked with the Attorney General on that. So I wanted to just kind of explain how that works. What we typically do is if there is a crime that we can connect to other towns, and that's quite often, they're not just here or there, they're all over, we will work with those towns. If we work with the Attorney General's office, that gives them the ability to not just charge a crime here, a crime there. It gives them the ability to pull all of those crimes together and charge them with all of them. So for example, these guys who did 80 of these, they'd get charged with 80 of them, and the Attorney General could pick what county they get charged in. So they're most likely gonna pick the strictest county they can to get the viable charges that are going to stick with them. So we put the case together, we do the investigation, we get the evidence, we then work with them and hand it over to them along with these other departments, and then that's how we build our case. So a lot of these cases we have been starting to work with the Attorney General on, and it just collaboration with other police departments. So next, the car break-ins. So we had one in June. I don't know the resident, I don't know if he scared him off, saw them opening the car door, but we had one reported. I'm gonna emphasize that these are reported to the police. So, and then on August 10th, we had several more. We had 7 more on August 10th. So every single one of these vehicles were unlocked. So every single vehicle, they have gone in, and I will tell you, it's an attempt to steal the vehicle. They're looking for your car keys in the vehicle, but they will take whatever they can get. So this, again, is something that's happening all around the place, all around the area, and what they're doing is 3 or 4 subjects will get into a car, they'll drive the car very slow down the road, and then 1 or 2 subjects will jump out and just check door handles. Like I said, their goal is to steal a car, and it has happened, and that's why we're going to talk about some preventative measures. If they can't get what they want, they're going to leave this area. So they're not going to go someplace that is not giving them what they desire. So that's what we're hoping part of what we can accomplish today is just make that put that awareness out there so we know that you guys know your neighborhood better than anybody else. So if you see a vehicle driving down the road at 2 in the morning very slowly, call the police. Or just suspicious people walking around. You guys know your area, so we will be there and we will take care of it. But that's the car burglaries that were reported to us. So 1 incident on June 28th, and then these incidents, 1 incident but several cars on August 10th. So, and I will tell you the status of this case. Within a day of us having the reports of these, we were able to identify one of the suspects. Our TAC officers were out 2 nights later, intercepted them. They took off at a high rate of speed. We made the decision, our commander made the decision not to pursue them because it's a property crime and we don't want to put people's lives at risk pursuing them. But they did go to 2 other towns and commit other crimes. So there's search warrant or arrest warrants out for them right now as we speak. We know who they are. We're going to get them into custody. But that's where we're at with those cases. So some of the ongoing work that we're doing, it's our patrol efforts. We saturate the area. So we have identified that this is going on in a specific area, and what we do is we'll saturate it. So we'll put extra officers there driving. We'll put extra officers there on bike patrol, foot patrol. We are dedicated to handing, I don't know if you guys have ever seen crime hazards, if you've left your garage open, but we put out crime hazards saying, hey, this is not safe, just so you know. There's items in your car's unlocked, stuff like that. So a lot of times people just need to be made aware that, oh, the police saw that my laptop was sitting on my car seat. So We do a lot of that, but just having those officers out there doing these patrols, like I said, when the TAC guys located that vehicle of the guys that came back to do more burglaries, that's because they're out there patrolling the area. So they are out there. You don't necessarily see them in a marked squad car. Sometimes they're in unmarked squad cars. Sometimes we don't want people to see that we're the police. So, and then as far as the investigations go, that's where, when we arrest them, that's really where the meat of it is. So we have joined task forces for some of the catalytic converter thefts that have been going on. We're in a task force for that. Several towns are working on that together. We do surveillance and we do evidence collection. Like I said, the evidence collection sometimes takes a while to get back, but when you go to court, you need to have some kind of evidence, right? So that's a very important aspect of it. And then we are, like I said, we're working with surrounding towns. Not only do we talk to them on the phone and go to meetings, we also have tools available to us where we can take a picture of a suspect and send it to all of the surrounding towns and say what we're looking for them for, be aware of this is what they're doing, and we get this from other towns as well. So we get that information that these are the crime trends going on and be aware of it. So I'm going to have Officer Matt Park up here to talk a little bit about what you guys can do to help protect yourself.
Thank you, Chief Cawley. Can you guys all hear me okay? Yeah. All right. So when we talk about crime, when police look at things happening, we want to look at it as more of like a basic sense, right? Easy ways to kind of prevent, kind of deter, right? We don't want to overcomplicate it. So the first thing we want to start with is basically just what we call a crime triangle. There's three things that make up this crime triangle, if I can divert your attention to the screen. There's opportunity, there's ability, and as the base of the triangle, there's desire, right? So I'll talk initially about desire. So desire is something that isn't easy for us to deter, right? That's if a subject, a suspect, or in most cases a bad guy, right, has a desire to commit a crime. I want to make some money, I want to steal property and sell it, whatever desire they have. It's difficult for us to be able to deter that as civilians, as people, even as police at times, right? So we look at the other legs, opportunity and ability. Opportunity are things that are presented to the suspect, right? It may be things that the chief was talking about earlier, like a laptop left out, car doors left open, front doors of houses or garages even left open. I mean, by raising your hands, how many people have some pretty expensive tools even in their own garage, if I could see? Right? That's kind of a thing, right? They're easy to pawn, and I always look at that because I'm a big tool guy, right? I have a lot of stuff. And the ability, right? So ability is another thing. Let's say a laptop is left out in someone's car, right, in broad daylight. And my ability to get into that car, even if it's left unlocked, right, I might pick up a rock and smash that window, right? There's my ability to do it, right? So lump sum, you need opportunity, ability, and a desire for crime to be occurring. If you're able to address even just one leg of this triangle, then crime cannot occur, right? For example, there may be desire, right? I want to rob, I want to steal, I need to make money. There may be opportunity. This car was left unlocked, or this garage door was left open. But ability might be deterred by even us as neighbors just keeping an eye out, right? I have pretty good relationships even with my own neighbors. Sometimes if I hear something, if I hear something or see something suspicious, it's me looking out the window, right? I don't know how many times, even driving into my own neighborhood, I've seen my neighbor's car doors left open, right? Technology is kind of like a double-edged sword, right? I know some cars have the ability to open doors with the touch of a button. At the same time, that car key might be jingling around in someone's bag and accidentally do something like that. I've seen it numerous times, right? Middle of the night, we see numerous garage doors left open, things like that too. So that's how we want to think about it. A really easy, simple approach, right? If we can take away someone's opportunity or ability on our own, that's what we want to focus on, then crime can cease at that point, right? So I'm going to go a little bit more in depth. We're going to talk about protecting your home. Again, staying on that very basic, simple principles. Lock your door even if you're just leaving for a few minutes, right? Unfortunately, the days of us just leaving our front doors open, right? I remember when I was a kid, I would just run to my buddy's house down the street. Storm door would be open. We'd go play. He would come outside, and then we'd be gone for a few hours, right? Come home when the street lights turn on. Unfortunately, those days are long gone, right? Even if it's just for a few minutes, have your doors locked. Close your garage doors. I close my garage door even when I'm mowing my backyard, right? You just never know, right? You just never know. Leave a radio or TV playing softly while you're not at home. Something as simple as the reflections of a TV, right? Late at night, those lights, those can be a deterrent themselves. Let me ask by a raise of hands, how many people leave lights on all night while they're sleeping at home? Okay. And I want you to keep those hands raised. I want you guys to look around. How many people are not, right? So something as simple as keeping lights on at night. Okay, you guys can phone. I'm not calling anyone out, right? I just want you guys to be aware, right? That's something simple. Again, these are conversations as like neighbor to neighbor I've had with my own neighbors, right? Opportunities present themselves in different ways. Bad guys like to work in the dark. It only makes sense, right? Lock or secure doors and windows when you are alone or asleep. Even when you're home alone, that doesn't always give you a sense of security, right? The last thing that police like to deal with is calls like that, calls of emergency, even though we have to, right? So even if you're home, even if you're not home, but a loved one or children or siblings are home, it's important to keep things locked and secure, right? Not just, again, the days of leaving our front doors, our back storm doors open completely, right? I love the breeze as much as anyone else in this room, but it can be just a safety risk at times. Do not let strangers inside, right? So the good thing and big thing about Hoffman Estates that we're really good on is any sort of solicitor is forced to have some sort of permit to solicit and identification, IDing themselves, right? These are calls that our patrol guys get numerous times on, right? Someone came to my house, they said they were from NICOR, they refused to show me any sort of identification. Right off the bat, that to me is suspicious, right? And I would say good opportunity to call 911, right? Don't ask a neighbor about it. Don't text a neighbor waiting for a response. Don't call the non-emergency line. Call 911, get an officer out there so that we can hastily make contact with that suspect and properly ID them, right? Whether they're permitted to be there, whether they're saying who they are, right? This goes along with what we have seen as like a trend is ruse burglaries. So ruse burglaries, those are typically like teams that work together. What they'll do is, I'll use myself as an example. I come to your house, I say, hey, I'm with Hoffman Estates Village. I work for the water department. Something is wrong with your meter. Maybe I'll go to Walmart and buy a nice construction hat and a vest, right, for $12. You unknowingly let me into your house, or I take you to the back of your house where your water meter might be. At that same time, my so-called partner or associate will run into your house, ravage whatever they can, and then we realize there's no problem, and I'll leave, right? You don't know who I am. You may have a quick second of what I look like, but at that point, by the time you call, I am gone, right? In the wind, and you may not know when my partner was in your house or anything like that. That's what we call a ruse burglary. If anyone is trying to attempt to make contact and pull you away from something, hey, I need to talk to you in your backyard. Hey, I need to take you down into your basement. Immediately, that should be looked at as a red flag. And it's okay for you guys to call 911 at that point. I actually encourage it. It's actually more frustrating when I talk to people and they say, oh, I didn't want to bother the police. Bother the police? This is our job, right? I enjoy doing it. I want to know who that person is. And at the same time, when we run someone through our system like that on a call, when you guys call us for any sort of suspicious persons or activity, that gets recorded into our own database. So if that name comes up again, it shows that we've had contact with them. So it not only helps you guys out, but it helps us out as well too. So again, highly encouraged. A few different resources that you guys have is you can arrange vacation checks with the police department. Who was aware that you can do this, a vacation check with the police department? Fantastic. So I actually didn't know this until I became a police officer as well. You can call our police department's front desk and you can let us know down to the exact examples what you want to know. I have a silver Honda CRV in my driveway, license plate whatever it is, and I'm gonna have a, white Chevy in the driveway, license plate this. I'm gonna have my kitchen lights on the first floor and one bedroom light on. That all gets recorded, and then you can give the date from when you leave to the date when you come back, and that gets passed along to our patrols, not only to our day shift, but to our night shift guys too. As that gets passed along, our guys will go around and do checks on the residents, right? Not everyone has access to alarm systems. Alarm systems don't always work, right? Things are very finicky at times. So it actually allows us to get a physical body out there and just do like a quick check of the house, right? I know whenever I was assigned to any vacation checks, it was always very thorough, right? We love to get out, pull on all the door handles, take a look at all the windows, go through the backyard, make our way, make sure nothing's loose, no broken windows, no random footprints. So that's an obvious resource that you guys have with the police department. Even if you guys are gone for the weekend, give us a call. Again, it's not a bother. It's never a bother. And just like Chief Cawley stated before, call 911 to report suspicious persons or activities, right? I don't live here. You guys do. You guys know your neighborhood way better than probably any of us do, right? You know your neighbors. You know what they drive. You know what fits in and what doesn't fit in. If there's anything like that weird sense, I always think of, did I leave the stove on? I always think about that feeling, right? That's the kind of sense where it's like, oh, something's rubbing me the wrong way. I should call 911, right? Again, if there's a delay in the response time of you calling 911, there's going to be a delay in our response time, right? Which in turn closes that window for us to be able to find that person, ID that suspect, whatever. Maybe they're up to no good, maybe they're just going for a stroll, but we won't know. Again, I highly encourage it. Auto burglary prevention, right? This is something we've seen, we always seen, and probably we won't stop seeing, right? So we have to look at it in ways of how we can prevent it ourselves. Plain and simple, place items out of sight, right? This is encouraged even if you're driving down the road, right? I'm gonna give you guys an example. My wife, she drives, she has a big purse, and she loves to leave it on the passenger seat, and she drives with the windows down, right? Let's say she's stopped at it, right away, you guys are kind of shaking your head like, oh my gosh, right? So a big thing is, I always tell her, hey, your windows are down, you got a big purse. It's really easy for a bad guy to come up, look in, snatch that, and run, right? She's not gonna chase after them. She can't drive after them. She might be stuck in an intersection. Even if you're in the car, especially when you're out of the car, place items out of sight. Put them in your trunk, put them under your seat. You never know when that desire, right? We think about that triangle. When that desire and opportunity is gonna start rearing its ugly head. Lock all doors, even if you plan to be gone for a few minutes. This is so true, right? Our cars are like our homes. We leave a lot of valuable things in them. Just the thought of someone crawling around in my car, it makes me very uncomfortable, right? So that's something to keep in mind. I even lock my car when it's parked in my garage, right? It's parked in my garage is down, I lock it. And then my family members always say, that's weird. And I say, I don't know. I mean, I'm just used to it, right? I don't know. Never leave your car unattended with the engine running, okay? This is something we see especially with like DoorDash or Uber Eats or people those delivery types of services, right? And even when I'm not working and I see those people, I let them know like, hey, probably be careful with that, right? It's really easy. Your car's running, your keys are inside. I can see that just walking by. Even for ourselves, right? Oh, I'm just running into the store real quick. Absolutely not, right? It doesn't take that much longer. For the time it takes you to run into the store and leave your car running is the same exact amount of time where it takes a bad guy to come and just take your car and take it for a joyride, right? It doesn't save us that much time, but hopefully that'll save us a big headache. Last thing, do not leave valuables such as wallets, keys, or checkbooks in your car, even while parked in the garage, right? Don't leave, a lot of cars nowadays have key fobs, right? Electronic key fobs, those are a lot of things that we see in auto burglary thefts, right? They're making their own keys, they're kind of tying it into our own signaling systems and things like that. Even if it's parked in the garage, don't leave anything in there. Don't leave your key in the cup holder. Don't leave your purse or your wallet in your car just because that's what we're used to. Don't leave anything valuable, for that matter, in the car. It just doesn't make sense. Take it into your home. A good example I saw was, I want to say it was out in Arizona. There was a few subjects that actually made some sort of like wire hanger antenna. and the car was parked in the driveway, but the keys must have been in the garage somewhere. Maybe, sometimes we have like key hooks. And they were able to find that signal using that antenna. They unlocked the car, they gained access, and they drove it away, right? So people are getting more creative, right? Criminals are becoming very brazen. So it's very important for us to stay vigilant and just keep it simple and avoid those, right? Let's not make it easy for them. And the old saying goes, you either hide it, lock it, or you lose it, right? Very basic. I also had, along with community relations and problem-oriented policing, I helped establish a lot of the Neighborhood Watch programs. If you've never been a part of the Neighborhood Watch program, it's pretty much just a group of residents and businesses working together to keep their neighborhoods safe, right? We might see something, we might hear something, but the biggest thing we want is we want you guys to say something, right? We want communication. Your neighbors want communication. If you don't have access to a handful of your neighbors' phone numbers or anything like that, that's something you should fix starting today, right? It's uncomfortable, and unfortunately, technology kind of pushes us away from making that like face-to-face conversation. But we need to break through that comfort zone and just kind of talk so that we can, again, become a tight-knit community. A neighborhood watch can consist of local group businesses, even something as small as a block of residences, or I even have one that consists of just like an apartment complex, right? So the complex management helps head it, and we usually, when people are running in and out, or I should say moving in and out of the apartment complex, I kind of just reach out and see if they're interested in joining as well. Here's the thing, a lot of people look at it as like, oh, this is a big commitment thing. I don't like to put my information out there. I'd rather just remain anonymous. I completely understand. The group can be as large as 50 people to 100 people, or it can be as small as 4 people, right? Whatever works to keep your area secure. Again, just like it says on the slide, you just need communication, right? It's not how well we establish our neighborhood watch on the police end. It's how devoted the neighborhood is, right, to committing their time and just communicating, right? I can be as transparent as you guys need, right, when we meet, going over things that are going on in your area. I just need that communication back, and that's what's important. So, again, if you guys are interested in starting something like that, please find me after. I could share my information, and then we can get things rolling. Neighborhood watches, they don't need to be massive, right? They don't need to be covering, like, all of the north area, right? I can have small pockets, right? I have 2 out west that are within a few blocks of each other, and then 2 more that are trying to start as well too, right? So there's people just kind of popping up, and rather than kind of combining it all, because some people, the size is intimidating at times, I like having the pockets, right? It allows for a more cohesive kind of environment, especially for the neighbors too. One other thing that I don't have up here that you guys can have access to, going along the idea of transparency, is our police department is also starting back up our Citizens Police Academy. I know it's been a few years since we've had that, since we've even been able to come together like this. And that's something that we're actually starting tomorrow. But there's still openings available. Again, if that's something you're interested in, grab me after. We can exchange information. Our Citizens Police Academy, it's kind of like a fun way to see what police do, how we do it, why we do it, and what we look for, right? And it's a great opportunity for us to teach even our own community things to look out for, right? Like the idea of head on a swivel. Who knows what head on a swivel means? So what that pretty much means is, right? So it's funny. Everyone's like, what is that? So a head on a swivel pretty much means is, what that means is just looking out for things that are out of the ordinary, right? I never want to be just driving and just staring straight, that tunnel vision. I kind of want to know what's going on, right? I want to know what traffic is around me. I want to know who's walking around me. That's the idea of head on a swivel, something that law enforcement practices regularly, right? When we're driving through neighborhoods, we look for those little things, right? So if you guys are interested in Citizens Police Academy, again, find me after and we can exchange information. We even have one for teens that are interested in joining the first responders. So. Another resource I want to talk about is the Hoffman Estates tip line, right? Our tip line is still active. First thing I'm going to talk about is when to call the tip line, okay? When do we use a tip line? Information regarding suspicious activity that is not immediately occurring, okay? If you see someone walking down the road or driving down the road and they're suspicious, that is not the time to call a tip line. we're gonna call 911 at that point, right? And you guys are not bothering us, okay? Just keep that in mind. I can't iterate that enough. Another time to call tip line, strange trends noticed within the area, such as vehicles or activity, right? You guys might see at weird hours in the night, cars coming and going from a neighbor's house, right? That's kind of weird, right? When it's typically been pretty quiet around that area. The tip line has access through email and text message. You can make a phone call. You could remain anonymous through our Gov Q&A, and I'll show you how to get to that. Moving on, when do we call 911? If there's any sense of immediacy needed, right? Any sense of urgency, or suspicious activity is currently active. It's ongoing, it's happening this second. Again, I can't encourage you guys enough, right? Please call 911. It makes our job easier. You're not bothering anyone. You're not using up your resources. You're taking advantage of them, actually, right? In a good sense. You see it, you say it. That's all we need. This is an easy way to find the tip line. If you go to hoffmanestates.org, there is a government drop-down window. Once you do that, there's going to be a police tab that opens up. Once you hit that police tab, right on the opening window, there's a crime tips. The crime tips is going to have a hyperlink that goes to our police tip line page, right? That's going to have hyperlinks to the emails, to the Gov Q&A citizens request form if you'd like to remain anonymous, and it has the phone number, right, that you can text or you can call and leave a message. Please note that the tip line is not monitored 24/7, right? And it should not be used to, right here, to report a crime in progress, right? I'm going to say that one more time. Please note the tip line is not monitored 24/7 and should not be used to report a crime in progress, right? What are we going to use at that point? Fantastic, right? They're listening, awesome. The tip line is great. However, it is monitored daily, right? There's actually a shared line within our investigations division, so it is a great resource. Same thing goes with the email, right? If you guys just want to remain anonymous, don't want to be contacted back, that's what you can do too. We only ask for a few things on your guys' end, and it's going to be listed right on there. We're going to need things like location, what you see, what's going on. If you have any sort of like plates, types of vehicles, descriptions of people, those are great things to share. If you share something like, I live on 123 Main Street and there's a lot of cars driving up and down from this house, 4 houses down from me, I'll remain anonymous, goodbye. That makes it very difficult, right? We might be able to help you, but it makes it difficult. So that's all we ask for on our end. A great resource to take advantage of. So at this point, I'm going to pass it back off to Chief Cawley, talking about some of our new initiatives.
Thank you. Thank you, Officer Park, very much. So some of the things that we want to look at doing and we're in the process of doing right now is I know that there's been some talk about communication, right? So communication is huge. I know social media is a lot of ways that people communicate. We don't love social media so much in the police department because some of the information is not accurate. We monitor social media. There's so many social media sites, but we often are looking at social media to see what's on there. You will not really see us chime in too often because it's just difficult to go back and forth. But we like accurate information to come out there. So some of the things that we're going to be doing is crime statistics. So on our webpage, we're working on this right now. I know that there's been some questions about, what are we compared to last year or the year before? And all of that information trickles in, but we're going to be working on getting that information on the website so that you guys could easily go on there and look at, things that you're concerned about. And then along with that comes crime alerts. So very often, and I hear this a lot, is, if you're looking for somebody, why don't you just plaster their picture everywhere? Why are we not getting their picture? Well, sometimes we don't want that picture out, depending on what stage of the investigation we're in, but sometimes we do, and it's usually a last resort, to be honest. We don't always, and you'll see this in many, otherwise the news every night you turn it on would be plasters of pictures all day long. So it is a last resort, but on this page, the crime alert page, we can let you know what's going on. If there's been some activity in a certain area, we could let you know when we do want to try to identify somebody, we could put their picture up there. So that is going to happen. That is something that's in the works. We're working on that right now. So real-time alerts is something else that we're looking into. This one is a little bit iffy because this would be signing up to get text messages about alerts. Some people love that, some people hate that, because when my phone dings at 3 in the morning over something that's really not that important. So that's something we're looking at. I don't know if we're gonna do that or not, but it is something that is possibly available to us. And then, like he said, community engagement, neighborhood watch meetings. We're always looking for people to join that, to be involved in that. And then, kind of like we're doing today, we're gonna start doing beat meetings. So, go to the different areas in the town and say, this is what's going on in your specific area. So that will be coming as well. Also, I just want to point out, Officer Park talked about Ruse burglaries. That is something that we had a lot of several years back, and several arrests were made. These people talk to each other. So I will say, we have had hardly any Ruse burglaries. They're kind of non-existent right now in Hoffman Estates because of all the arrests and the work that our investigations division did. So although we want you to be aware of it and how to protect yourself, and it could come back, there are things that we have done to pretty much eliminate certain things. So all of us we're an open door here. My contact information is up here. Any of these officers here, if you want to, after the meeting, ask them for their contact information, you can go on our website. All of our contact information is on the website. Email us anytime, call us anytime. We want to know if something is bothering you and something needs to be addressed, and then we will address it with you. So with that being said, I think I will open it up for questions. Kind of a goofy setup, but if you want to come up here so everybody could hear you, and then we'll just, one person at a time, and then we'll just address those questions as they come in. Yes.
Before we open up the floor, my name's Trustee Eric Clavus. I'm assuming most of you are from Winston Knowles, the majority of the room? No? Okay, good. That's good. It's okay. The reason I ask is because Officer Park mentioned Neighborhood Watch. And I used to be, about 19 years ago, your homeowners association president. And one of the subsidiaries of that homeowners association was the Neighborhood Watch community. And we had about 29 of us that were block captains, is what we called them. And we had one on Freeman and Winston, another one on Winston and Norman, another one over on Lexington. We had the whole place blocked. So if anything suspicious happened, we'd all communicate to each other. We met monthly, and then the officers, they loved it because they're only as good at doing their job as we are at telling them what's going on around here. I live over in neighborhood Charlemagne. We have a couple of us over there that are block captains. So, and like Officer Park, I keep wanting to call you Matt. I'm sorry, Matt. It's his first name. But as Matt mentioned, a head on a swivel. We're always watching. Trained observers is really what we want to enable you to be. So if that's something you're interested in firing up again, most of the same people are still in the neighborhood. 19 years seems like a long time, but not that many of us move like I do. So nevertheless, feel free to approach the group or the chief or Officer Park and get back involved. That's a great program, and it really helps us to help you in the end.
Let me tie into that for you.
I'm Trustee Michael Gata. I live on the west end called Haverford Place, which is a 55 and older community. And what Trustee Falafis was just saying, we did this about 15 years ago. And the thing is that it seems that the thieves like to pry on people of age. So there is no question about it. And we did form, just like he said, the neighborhood watch. And there's a captain for each one of the streets. Now we only have 7 streets there. And the thing is that if anything goes on, yes, the resident would tell the captain then either would call the police or whatever. But that is a very, very, very profitable solution to keep crime down in your neighborhood. Because a lot of times when the thief sees that sign that says neighborhood watch and so forth, they'll go to the next town. They'll go to the next place. So that's very, very important. And you're looking at the man sitting right here in front of you, right? Mark Parks, right? That is setting it up. In fact,
Your name changed.
Well, that's okay. Whatever. All right. Matt Park. Okay, now we have it right. In fact, we're having Matt come out in about 3 weeks or so, or 4 weeks, right? Just to rejuvenate the plan. So take advantage of what's being offered to you at no cost to you, but the savings is tremendous on your part. All right, thank you.
Trustee Mills.
I'm a Southsider and also a property manager. And let me tell you, too many times people will call my office and go, you know, last night I saw this guy walking around the cars on this street. Why didn't you call the police? Well, I figured I'd wait and call you in the morning. That's not going to help you. You need to get out there. Don't be afraid to call 911. It is not only for emergencies. And that's something I've always stressed to my residents. It's for any type of call. When you're suspicious of something, or there's a small problem, it's the same number you're going to call, whether it's a major accident or if it's the kids are screwing up down on the corner. Call 911. Don't be afraid to call them. They want to be bothered with your calls. And don't wait and say, well, maybe we should have done this or we should have done that. Just do it. It's very important. And I thank you guys for the great job you're doing tonight. Great explanations.
I think so.
I'll just talk loud. Oh, wait, I have to get up.
Hi, I'm Trustee Karen Arnett, and I used to be a South Sider. Now I traded over to the North Side. But I also wanted to chime in on the Citizens Police Academy. I took it back in 2003. It's a great, great program to go into when you're an adult and even a child. It's about a 12, 13-week course, 1 night a week, 3 hours each night. But you get to learn so many different classes and programs that the police department are doing now to keep the community safe and to teach you guys a little bit more about what they do on a daily basis. I'm actually taking it again starting tomorrow. And I love it. It's a great class and I highly recommend it to everybody who wants to learn more about what the police and fire do for our community and our neighborhoods.
Okay?
Now it's up to you.
Thank you. So if anybody wants to come up,
We're gonna hope that if you have a question, you come up, because we are recording the show on the cable channel, and I don't think people heard the gentleman's question.
the question was, should you have your ID on you while you're driving? And is it a good idea to put it in the trunk? Sure, those are great questions. Yes, you should have your driver's license ID with you while you're driving. If you want to put it in your trunk, I would probably not recommend that. And the reason being is that if you get pulled over, we want to make sure you're safe. We want to make sure our officers are safe. Anybody getting out of that car to go to the trunk of the car, you know, sometimes you're on a busy road, it's just not safe. So we recommend not doing that and having the ability to reach for that ID and get that. And then as far as reaching for anything, the situation is going to dictate it, right? So if the officer pulls you over and is sitting in his car, a lot of times they're running your plate and stuff like that, and you can grab your license and have it ready for the officer with your insurance card, or you can wait till the officer gets there and have a conversation with them and then grab it, you know, tell them I'm going to get my information. So either one, but we do recommend that it is within some kind of reach of you.
I've lived in the Winston Knowles neighborhood for 40 years now, and although it's not the primary purpose of this meeting, it's sort of associated with it. And, oh, there, I can hear that. And some of you that live along Winston and Freeman will know where I'm going on this. It's the problems that we've had with vehicle speeding, and every week we have neighbors complaining about that. What are you guys thinking about in terms of how can we deal with that? Because somebody's going to hit a kid someday, or a kid crossing the street on a bicycle, little kids, little dogs. You know, you don't want to see that happen in our neighborhood. So what's the plan for that?
Sure. So we, believe it or not, speeding complaints and traffic complaints are the thing that we get the most everywhere. And I will tell you that since COVID has happened, I think the traffic everywhere has gotten worse. So we address all of the, what we like to do is somebody tell us, hey, this is, we patrol constantly, we're doing, traffic, but if you tell us, hey, we have a problem right here, and it's nice to know, like some people will say it's typically during rush hour, or they can usually narrow down when the problem is the worst. We do extra patrols. So we'll have extra patrols with our officers. Anytime that they're not on a call, they're designated to come enforce the traffic laws. And then sometimes we'll actually do a speed survey. So Sergeant Wondakowski, do you want to add anything to that?
Okay, to answer, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that probably have traffic-related questions, and speeding, like Chief Cawley said, is a big issue, not just in our town, in any town. If you think the main mode of transportation is the roadways and the neighborhood streets, so we do get a lot of speeding complaints. It's not the easiest thing to manage, just because the sheer number of vehicles out on the roadway versus the number of officers available to enforce those infractions. But we do listen to the community when they address certain areas of town that tend to be more speed-related. There tends to be more speed-related problems than other areas of town, and we track the data. So we have a few different things that we can do. Our engineering department is great. They have devices that can give us a traffic count of how many vehicles travel through, and it breaks it down. We can break it down by the minute, we can break it down by the 5 minutes, but it really depends how many pages of data do you want to have. So we usually do it within the hour, how many vehicles are coming during an hour throughout the 24-hour day. And that lets us know what the average speed is, what the high speed was, what the low speed was, and it also lets us know when the largest amount of vehicles and when we are seeing the highest rate of speeders. It helps us address that issue. Then we can dispatch our officers during those times. We don't want to have a police officer sitting on the side of the road for 2 hours when we know the data shows that that's not when the high number of speeders are coming. So that's a great tool. Some other things that we're looking at doing in the future is getting, if you've probably all seen them driving down the road, it's a big sign that flashes your speed is this, and it will flash when your speed is over the posted speed limit. Well, we can set those parameters to 1 mile over speed limit, 5 miles, 10 miles. It changes color to red when you're going fast. But what it also does is it tracks the data for us. It lets us know how many vehicles were going there, how fast they were going, and the times. And we can download that data, and again, we can allocate our resources to those specific time frames so we don't miss, so we get there when we're seeing the most infractions, and that's the greatest time that we're going to catch the people doing what they would like to do. Does that all kind of make sense of the resources that we have? Besides the average police car with the radar unit, we have a plethora of speed measuring devices that we can use to track speeders. I don't really need to get into specifics of those, but they're out there. But these are a couple of the tools that we use to gather large amounts of data so we know where to be and when the problem is, the largest, so we can pinpoint and have the officers there at that time. Yes, sir.
How many police officers do you have, squad cars do you have assigned for the north area here?
Chief?
I mean, you only have about 2.
We have a minimum of 2 at any given time, a minimum of 2. So often we have more than that. And you also have to keep in mind we have tactical officers, we have community service officers. So even though there may be 2 or 3 assigned to the area, we have other officers and other resources that are in the area. Yes.
Who's next?
Hi, Chief. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Board, nice to see you. I saw you a couple weeks ago, and boy, guys, this is nice to see this crowd here. I came a couple weeks ago to voice my concern about the crime that's happening up in our area over here. I've been up here almost 30 years, from Chicago, 35 years ago. I'm happy to be out here. Where I lived, we used to have police that lived next door to me. It's no longer the case. But anyway, that was back then. Anyway, what I want to address is, Chief, you had a screen up here that says transparency. My concern, once again, is communication. We have all this stuff that's going on when you brought up what we need to do in that. But I think the main concern is, what are we going to do so we know what's going on? I know you said about text messages and all that. If you could give me a time frame, or at least everybody know what the time frame is, to put something up there so people could sign up to see what active alerts are going on at the time, that would be fantastic. I do notice one thing in my neighborhood, the lights are on. Neighbors are putting up Ring doorbells. This is all in the last couple weeks. I think they've heard the news of what's going on in the area. We need to be alert, and most importantly, we need you guys to let us know what's going on. You have all these other things going on. Like I said, you provide us information, but what do we need to know at the moment? In addition, I understood that our neighbors in South Barrington, there was a wave of crime going up there with stealing vehicles. If you guys recall, it was on the news, at least in a local paper. I heard they have some system to track driver's or not plates, to alert the police department that the vehicles coming through the neighborhood are stolen vehicles. Is that true, number one? And number two, why can't we not have that here to give you guys a heads up? Okay. Guys, thanks for coming.
So there were a few questions in there, and I'll go through all of them. So what you're talking about are the license plate readers that do track. So how it works is, if we know a car is stolen, we'll put the license plate in. It's called a hot list. And then, so if another agency, it gets picked up on this license plate reader, it will alert that agency that this car is a stolen car. We do have that technology. We've been putting it into our fleet, so it's something that we're getting more and more of, but we do have that technology and we do utilize it. As far as the Ring doorbell goes, I wanted to say, and I didn't say this before, but the way that we identified those offenders in those burglaries to auto were through Ring doorbells. So you guys have been great. I don't know if everyone is aware of this, but we are part of the Neighbors app. And what we do is, if we have a crime and we know approximately what time it occurred in an approximate area, we can blast out a message requesting that anybody who has motion on their Ring doorbell share that video with us. It will only alert the person if it does in fact have motion. So not everyone's stuck looking at these videos. And then you would have the option to give us the video or not give us the video. You can remain anonymous or provide more information. And we can be very specific and say, hey, we're looking for a guy in a red shirt. And you could look at the video that you have, that Ring tells you have, and then you could say, oh, this matches or it doesn't match. So that's a huge resource to us. With the Neighbors app, we also have the ability to send out crime alerts. So we are going to be doing that more often. So, you ask, we want some more information pushed out to us. That's an avenue that we will be working on. And then as far as that other stuff with the transparency plan that I talked about, we're talking about the next couple weeks, and that will be up and running. Yes, that does require you to go to our website. Not everything can be pushed out all the time, but between those different avenues, I think that we'll be able to keep you guys better informed. Okay?
Yeah.
Hi. I've lived here since 1978, since I was about 8 or 9, in the Hoffman Estates area, so more by Willow Creek Church across from the mobile area. I have never seen this type of crime in this area growing up as a kid, especially at Mobile. I used to see some of the police officers, 2 cars at a time, sitting over there, driving around, so it's pretty scary of what's going on. I'm basically here, probably like a lot of you, is because of lack of communication. I was getting a lot of information from Facebook and from the North Hoffman website, people going back and forth. I understand completely that as police officers, you can't put out the facts of who you're looking for, etc. But I think that we need some information of, hey, this is going on, remember, lock your doors, etc. I don't believe that there has been anything in our newsletter. So a lot of these facts should be in the newsletter for older citizens who don't have access to the website, so they can read it in black and white. In addition, we have Hoffman Estates e-News. I have not received that since August 5th, and it's currently not working. If you go to your webpage, there's an error on there. That's another resource where general information can be put out saying, hey, something's happening in the neighborhood, turn on your lights, lock your doors, check on your neighbors, whatever. Tonight, I heard a lot of transparency of us giving you information, calling 911, calling the tips line, but I'm not hearing a lot of, in your plans, on the village giving us information saying, hey, this is what's going on. So I think from the size of this crowd, you can see we're very interested in protecting the community.
So I think, with that transparency plan, there is going to be a lot of information that we are going to push out. Just to be able to go to the website and see crime alerts and crime statistics, I think will be very helpful. And then utilizing the social media, like I said. So we do have a plan. We are going to push out a lot more. But I would also like to say that, years ago, we did have, at one time we had a rash of residential burglaries. We have had stuff happen here before that we have addressed and fixed. But before social media, it just wasn't that prevalent. It wasn't that many people. So I see things on social media before we can even address them. So it's just, there is a lot of communication through social media. Like I said, it's not always accurate. Many times it's not. So that's why we want to push that accurate information to you, and we will definitely do a better job at that.
Sir?
Hi, I have 2 questions. First, during the presentation, you mentioned 2 separate incidents at Cardinal Liquors, one in May and one in August, break-ins. Wasn't there more incidents than that? I remember there was wasn't he assaulted outside closing, and that would be a 3rd incident. So I'm just wondering why you didn't reference that, and if that is the same break-in crew that you said was responsible for the other 80. And then my second question is, I know nationwide there's a lot of issues with departments being able to retain officers, especially in the city of Chicago. They're down like 20% since the start of COVID. So I'm just wondering if Hoffman Estates is having any issues retaining officers, or if staffing levels are the same as they were, a couple years ago.
Okay, so the first question, yes, he was assaulted outside. The employee for Cardinal Liquors was assaulted outside. That was a separate incident. I kept these with the commercial burglaries and the break-ins of the vehicles. But yes, there was a separate incident that is an active investigation. As far as the staffing levels go, our staffing is adequate, it's appropriate. Our staffing has not changed. Yes, nationwide, it's difficult to get people who want to be police officers right now, and that's something that we're actively working on recruiting. The Teen Academy was brought up earlier, so that is something that's new. We're doing, it's a first responder teen academy with the fire department to get people interested at a younger age at both police work and in the fire service. So our staffing has not changed. We're adequate in our staffing, but yes, there is a nationwide shortage of people that want to be police officers. So it's something that we are constantly working on the recruiting effort.
So you mentioned Ring doorbells. I was wondering if you had any recommendations. Is that the only doorbell that you are integrated with, or are there any other recommendations for us?
So we don't have a contract with Ring or anything like that. We just, that's the only one I'm familiar with. There may be others out there, but what I'll say about the Ring doorbell is that they are connected to that Neighbors app, and the Neighbors app is the app that we are familiar with, that we can push out the information and receive the information. So if there are other Ring type doorbells out there, there may be, but they're not able to provide the same information that we're using right now.
Sure.
Yeah, great questions, and many of mine have been answered, or at least reaching that. So I'm going to ask you a question. What's that number again that we call? Seriously, though, seriously. It's the things that happen after the fact. I saw that somebody was in my car unlocked the day after. I shouldn't call 911 to report that, right? What should I call? Should I call that tip line?
No, you should. Is that your only question?
No.
Okay, well, okay. So 911, the way our calls are dispatched to us, even if it's a stray dog, they have to go through 911. That is how we use the Northwest Central Dispatch Center. So that is how they assign our officers to go to any call. So anytime you want a police response, it has to go through 911.
I know there's a lot of questions about the app, or about the doorbell stuff. Okay, so I've got a camera system that's not Ring, forget the name right now, but is there a way to upload video when we see it? We can show it instead of say it? Is there a play, you say the Neighbor app, and I'm not familiar with that, so.
Well,
And that's not the neighborhood app,
no, neighbor,
right?
it's neighbors. And because my officers are often smarter than me, I just got passed a note that you do not have to have a Ring doorbell to be on the Neighbors app. So you can be on the Neighbors app and not have a Ring doorbell. Just the Ring doorbell allows you to transfer that video back and forth.
But I can upload something else if I can get the file?
If you could figure that out, yes.
Okay.
Oh, you can upload to the tip line.
To the tip line. I can upload to the tip line then. Okay. Okay, all right. The triangle that you had, the opportunity, the ability, the desire, is very helpful. It seems that opportunity has increased with the access to the expressway. I don't know if the crime metrics show that, but many of us here, we're kind of wondering, is this the reason that we're seeing, or is this a reason that we're seeing this increase in crime in this area because the opportunity is to get in here and get out? And if so, is there any connection to, I know the cameras are on the expressway all over the place. Is there any or connection that you guys are doing to say, okay, we had a crime, what did the cameras say about people getting on the expressway and stuff like that?
So I don't know that there's any data that correlates any crime with the expressway. I will tell you that in some areas where we have retail stores that are next to the expressway, I think that there's a possibility that there's more retail thefts. But as far as your community, I don't know that there's any data to support that. And then as far as these license plate readers, we work with the state police, we work with other agencies. These people who have these license plate reader technology, it's really all one system that you tap into. So yes, we do track things through there.
You talked about the solicitors, and I was just wondering, is there a specific type of identification that we're supposed to ask them for besides just an ID, or is there like I'm a Hoffman Estates approved person, or a solicitor? Oh, okay.
They have to have a blue and white business license that they have to show you when asked, and they also have to have an ID badge that'll have Kasha's name on it, but I signed it, so it's not really her signature, but it's good enough. And their photo is on that ID also, so you can match up the face in front of you with the picture on the ID. And when they pick up their stuff, we tell them anytime anybody asks you, you have to present that. The ID always has to be shown. Has to be pinned on them like you would be at work and you have your ID on there. So they don't have it, you got a no solicitor sign on your thing. That's another reason they can't come to that door, and they're informed. They have the written rules on what you do, what you can and can't do as a solicitor. They can't keep coming back to your house. So if there's some that are very persistent, the storm chaser ones. Again, if they keep coming back, call 911. The guys will come. The guys and the girls will come out there and they'll help you. But you can't wait for 2 days, which is what we get a lot of times. Oh, he was out in my neighborhood. Well, we can't really help you then.
With the soliciting, that is correct, but there are two types that can come to your door to solicit. One is religion and the other is politics, all right? So as far as campaigning on that, they can do that even though you have a sign on your window that says no soliciting. Those are two that are authorized to knock on your door. Other than that, as Bev was saying, call 911.
Last question, okay. And transparency was on my mind, and I'm grateful that was brought up earlier too. So thank you for this meeting. But when I heard you talking about the upcoming things, I got a sense that those were wish list items. I work in IT and projects and things like that, and we're often looking at metrics and how we can improve reporting and so on and so forth. Are these systems that you're talking about for crime statistics, alerting, and real-time alerting, are they really, is that a system that's really available to the village at this time, or is it something that's in development? Can you comment on that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
From now on, you're limited to 3 questions. I'm just kidding. So yeah, I mean, what we're talking about is nothing that's really high techy stuff. It's us putting up a page saying that that we're continuously updating, saying that this is what's going on. This is a crime alert. The statistics, like I said, they trickle in. They get reported to the state, they get reported to the federal government, so they trickle in. Like I think some of the websites that are up there with crime statistics are only recent up to 2019, many of them. So it's something that we're kind of just monitoring by ourselves and we'll put up there, but it's as simple as putting up a web page. Nothing very high-techy.
Hello, my wife and I just moved to the area in December, and we love it out here. But we're up by the Westbury Firehouse, and one of the times it is challenging living over there is when the kids get dropped off for school and when they get picked up, because there is a lot of traffic that backs up there. And I've noticed that those intersections will get crammed up, and you almost get cars hitting each other because they're trying to go through the stop sign at the same time. Firehouse gets blocked, and if there was a fire and the trucks needed to get out of there, I think it'd be challenging for them to maneuver with all that traffic. Plus the citizens that live up there, sometimes our driveways get blocked and it's hard to get in and out of the place when you have that line of traffic. So we've called the school and we're told that we had to contact the police department, and we didn't have a whole lot of luck with that last year. So I guess my question is, what can we do as far as either getting some sort of crossing guard down there or somebody to direct traffic, because I think that is a high traffic area during the pickup and drop off times, and I think it is an intersection that needs some attention. Thank you.
So last year, we actually completely refigured the drop-off plan for the school. Again, this is a complaint that we get, I think, at every school. But we changed how the plan worked. I know it worked for quite a while. It alleviated that traffic. So usually what we do, especially the school year just started, and this is when we have our biggest problems, you have new students there that the parents don't technically, really understand. So we start by having the school send out some correspondence to the parents, asking them, this is what we'd like to see for drop, because the problem is drop-off, right? So it's backing up because of drop-off.
It's that, especially on bad weather days, with the snow and with the rain, those
sure.
are the bad days.
Yeah. So we tell them, like, little Timmy doesn't need 5 kisses before he gets out of the car, and you don't need to pack his lunch in the car. So that's part of the problem, is just getting people to move. And then we have our community service officers. If it doesn't fix it, they will go out there and spend some time out there directing traffic, and we did that last year, and it seemed to fix it. So I think it's the beginning of the school year, so we're having that problem again. So we will address that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm wondering, several references have been made to the neighborhood app. How do we get it?
So it's the Neighbors. It's actually called Neighbors, and it is an app available on a smartphone. So an iPhone and Android phone, when you go to that app thing and hit search, put Neighbors in there, and then that's what, we should have made a slide that showed what the, yeah. And if you want to come up to one of us afterwards, we could actually show you on there.
Hi, I've got just 2 quick questions, but I can put them both together, so it's easy. I live in Poplar Hills, but I'm on the south side of Algonquin Road. So we're fairly, we're fairly put together. We have the streets around us. When I go out and I walk my dog late at night, like 10:30, 11, 11:30. When I go around the neighborhood, and we do go around the whole neighborhood, there are so many pockets that are dark. I mean, some of them have street lights, but I go through, I've got to bring a flashlight because there's pockets that are completely dark. And the other thing is, I can't tell you how many houses I pass where the garage doors are up, or the side doors are open, or the bikes are sitting in the driveway. And I don't know what to do. I tried once to not, but it was like late, and I tried knocking on somebody's door, and they probably thought I was crazy and didn't open the door and didn't do anything. So somebody said I should have said something because the ring bell, I guess, has sound. But yeah, their garage door was not up. It was like two-quarters of the half a way up, maybe. So I don't know how, but I don't know what to do when I run into that, and it's fairly consistent when I do it.
So the streetlights are not my department, but as far as the garage doors being up, I think if you're walking around, especially if it's late at night and you see numerous ones open, we call them just a security check. So you could call the police department and say, hey, I'm walking around this area and there's all these garage doors open, I'm concerned, and we'll send an officer out there and we'll check it, a premise check of the area, and we'll alert people that need to be alerted that their garage is open. It is a 911 call, yes.
As far as the streetlights go, folks will probably remember that we did have an advisory referendum on that last year. And we're trying to put together a plan where we can put streetlights in areas that don't currently have them. It's going to be expensive, and it's going to take a number of years to be able to do that. But we are working on that.
Our old streetlights were better.
Yes, they were. We need better ones, like the one you got in front of your house.
Tough crowd. It's a tough crowd. We did convert to LED lights, and I have an LED light as everybody else does.
No, you have one that has 3 separate bulbs. The one in front of our house on Whispering Trails has 1 bulb. The lumens produced by that street light is like 51, 52. The ones produced by the 3-eyed street lights, like the ones you have, is 68, 69. We need better lights. You can't even see the steps in front of your house unless you've got a flashlight. You know, I know we're probably never going to see the orange street lights again, but we need better, brighter street lights. Maybe even have a coach light mounted to the street light that's aimed at the sidewalk, because there's a street light like every 2 driveways, and you can't, the driveways are like dark, completely dark. You could fall. I mean, we got to get better street lights than we have. That might help with the crime stuff too.
I'm not aware that there were different type of streetlights they did the whole town. We'll look into that.
You check. My address is 4060 Whispering Trails, and you know where yours is. I'm just using you as an example. I'm not trying to cause you any pain.
No, that's okay.
But you've got 3
I'm used to
lights
it.
on yours. You take the time to check it out and see what I'm talking about.
I wanted the job, so it comes with the territory. Go ahead.
Okay, I have just a couple of questions. I'll make it quick. The primary reason that a lot of people here, I think, are the article that was published in the Daily Herald listing the crime that's a block from my house. I live in Charlemagne. That gas station's been broken in twice. The reason I know that is because I get gas there all the time. I'm getting worried that I shouldn't maybe go there anymore. It may be a daylight robbing the next time. So my question is, how soon after a robbery like that is it showing up on the police blotter, whatever it is, the police report, so that we can see it as citizens and know that that's going on? The second thing is, how many other break-ins and robberies in those 2 shopping areas right at that intersection corner have occurred over the last 3 months, just off the top of your head? And then the second question is, I'm going to leave it at that.
So what I had shown on that slide was 2 incidents where the Buc-ee's and the Cardinal Liquors was burglarized. So there were 2 incidents, one, each place. And then we had the Crank Revolution burglary. And then we had the gentleman that was assaulted, and then that is it.
I forgot. Here's the other question. Also in that shopping center is a local eatery, tavern, if you will, that stays open until 3 o'clock. I think at one time it might even been 4 o'clock in the morning. As my mother told me, nothing good happens after midnight. What do we need to do in terms of getting that changed from 3 o'clock? Or is that the same throughout the entire Hoffman Estates subdivision. And it's their consideration, you see a direct link in between the 3 o'clock closing and all of these burglaries and robberies and so forth that are occurring.
So you're talking about First Place? Okay. We have no problems there. So I will say, I totally agree with you. My mom says the same thing. I feel the same way being an officer, but we have very rarely have to respond there for anything, and we don't believe there's any correlation between people leaving that bar and any of the break-ins. These are crews that are not from around here.
My first question is, from a strategic standpoint, is the goal of the patrols up at the corner to deter or apprehend? Because to be honest, when I drive by there at night, there's 2 to 3 squad cars with their running lights on, not the Mars lights, but the running lights on. So if you're a criminal, you guys stick out like a sore thumb. So if your job is to say, go down the next street and rob, it's gonna work. If your job is, if you're trying to catch these guys, it doesn't make much sense, the approach. And then you mentioned earlier that you had caught somebody and decided not to pursue. There's a perception, right, wrong, or otherwise, that different villages have different pursuit policies, and these crews target villages that have more lax pursuit policies. I just wanted your thoughts on those.
So our job is both to deter crime and then also catch the criminals. When we have these extensive investigations, which are larger investigations, which take time, and are random, there's really no way to say that this happens every Friday or every Sunday at this time. A lot of times we work on deterring it while we're working on the investigation. So we're doing both. And then as far as, what was your second question?
Pursuit policy.
Pursuit policy. So yes, many towns do not allow certain pursuits to take place. And the reason being is because when you turn on the news and when you hear about the mom and her 4 kids in the minivan that got hit by, somebody fleeing the police, that's not worth it to us. I mean, we evaluate everything differently. So I'm not saying that we will not pursue, but we evaluate the time of day, we evaluate the traffic on the road, we evaluate the people walking on the street, we evaluate what the crime is. So everything is different. My supervisors have the ability to make that decision, and they do that.
Back again. Sorry. Rutrow, you mentioned a task force. Is there a task force for this activity? Because I think you were talking about the catalytic converters. Is there a task force associated with this situation? And I guess that's about it. Well, the only other thing I had was at the end, there's been a lot of comments, a lot of questions, a lot of feedback that's been great from yourself and the board. Will there be published minutes from this meeting to say, here's what we're doing, here are the dates we commit to get these things done? Because I think a previous gentleman alluded to, it's like, is this stuff like wish list or is it really going to get done? That would be my question. Thank you.
It's a public meeting, right? So there will be. So that answers that. As far as the timeline of getting this done, I would be happy to, at any board meeting coming up, to say what our progress is. I want to get this done in the next couple weeks, so that is our plan.
But there's not going to be any written minutes from this meeting? Yes, there is.
There is, because it's a public meeting, so there is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Are there any? Yep.
Wait a minute. To your question, there's been no time frame set. So if you're looking for when my minutes come out, I'm going to have pretty much like what questions were asked, but there's been no time frame set as to when Chief Cowley's going to have it up on the website. So you're not going to get that from my minutes. And our next meeting is September 6th. These minutes will be approved on September 6th, and then they'll be on our website. So you can go to our website, every meeting that after they're approved are on our website, and look at them then. But you're not going to have all these details. I can't write, this guy had 5 questions, this one had 27. I'm sorry, I pointed to you. Or even your name, because...
But I'm not looking for the questions so much as a lot of commitments were made. I'm looking for dates.
Yeah, so.
And those haven't been set, so that's not going to be in the
So where
minutes.
will those be set then? If they're not going to be out there, where will they be?
So I will keep the board up to date as to what's going on with the progress. And you could go into any board meeting, you can watch it on YouTube, you can,
Chief will communicate that through e-news or
Yes.
Facebook page or something.
yes. We will get that, I promise you, we will communicate that to you guys.
There will be, as the chief's pointed out, an action plan.
And that'll be on a Public Health and Safety Committee meeting. It's public also, and there will be written minutes from that also.
So I have 2 points of good news. I'm last in line, so I'm at, and I only, oh, sorry. And I only have one question. What is our rights as property owners should we come home and encounter someone in our home and I decide to clock him with a frying pan? I'm not talking conceal and carry, but if he's on my driveway and I do something and A, I injure him, or B, I kill him. Most people know me, it will be B. What are my rights?
So this question comes up quite often, and I'm actually going to have Lieutenant Lawrence come up and talk about it. There's some things, the laws have changed over the years, so some people don't realize that, but he actually teaches this stuff to our officers. He's our use of force lieutenant, so he can just, I mean, briefly, we don't have to touch on every scenario, but.
Thank you, Chief. So it's a great question. It comes up quite often, and a lot of these questions we teach in the Citizens Police Academy. So you can definitely come out and you learn about defense of a dwelling, defense of a human of property, of yourself, what you should and shouldn't do. The big thing, if you come home and you know that your house has been burglarized or broken into, call what number? 911, 100%. The problem comes in when you go into the house and you get involved in an altercation. That can be problematic at times for you. It really can be. Civil litigation is also an issue. We've had a lot of people shoot at people that are trying to steal their car. That can be problematic. You know what I mean? Excuse me, sorry. Oh, sorry. That can be problematic at times as well. So 7-5 in the Illinois compiled statutes, if you look it up, 7-5, 7-1, it explains what you can and can't do for the defense of a dwelling. All right? If you're at home at night and you wake up and there's someone at the end of your bed, are you able to shoot that person?
Yes.
No, you can't. No, it all depends, right? It depends on what the guy's saying to you, what he has in his hand. I agree. But this is what you need to be aware of when you call the police, right? So I welcome all of you to come to the Citizens Police Academy, and we'll run you through some scenarios as well.
What can you do?
Call the police and come over and have a conversation with us?
So it depends, all right? Again, I hate to keep saying that. I can never give you all the answers to every scenario that might come up, right? Someone breaks into your house and they are saying things like, I am going to hurt you, then you have every right to defend yourself, 100%. There's no doubt about it. If they have a weapon in their hand and they are threatening you with that weapon, then yes, defend yourself, 100%, okay? Does that answer your question?
No, but if he's standing there invading your property,
Yes.
in your room,
In your room.
fear,
Mhm.
I would feel I would have the right to reach for my frying pan.
So let me ask you this question. You live up north, I take it?
No, I'm here on Wednesday.
All right, I'm Winston, okay. Let's say I'm your neighbor, or I'm visiting your neighbor's house. I'm from Arizona. And I went out, and it's 2 in the morning, and I'm intoxicated, and I lose my way, and I crawl through a window to not wake up my family member, and it happened to be your house. I walk in your bedroom, and I'm looking at you at 2 in the morning, and you're like, oh my God, who is this guy? And you clock me across the head, and you kill me, right?
But I would see that as not my problem because you invaded my home.
No, I agree. It was an accident on my part.
Sure.
Right? Sure. So there's a lot of things that go into play with each scenario that you should be aware of. Right? If I was saying mean things to you and I'm going to hurt you, then yes, then you need to defend yourself.
And I did carry him, I killed him, and I have a FOID card. and a concealed carry.
You may have a problem, maybe.
Would I still have a problem?
It's possible.
We always been told to shoot them and pull them back into the house.
Yes, well, that's always, right.
I mean, that's a really good question. It's a good scenario.
It is,
That was
yes.
in my head.
Yeah,
All right, we'll move on here to school night.
that's all.
Okay. I don't like speaking. So first of all, about somebody brought up First Place, and it truly is a neighborhood bar, and most of the people that go there are from our area, are from our neighborhood. And my concern is not necessarily the patrons leaving at 3 in the morning, because I don't know, how many of you guys have been there at 3 in the morning? But it is the girls leaving at 3 in the morning. What are we doing about these girls, these bartenders, these, occasionally Lisa has a bouncer depending on a Saturday night, but they're walking to their cars and there's these crimes there in the area. And you guys have said it before, it takes 3 minutes. And you guys can't be, it's done by the time you guys get there. And I'm worried about the girls. So that's my first thing. My second thing is I do live on the corner of Whispering Trails and Huntington. And I know that people have said Winston and Freeman are raceways, so is Huntington. I have a little 4-year-old, and I'm pretty sure any of the cops that drive around have seen him running up and down my, on my thing. And he's good. He doesn't cross the street without me. But all I need is for one crazy driver to veer off the road, because I watch them and I don't know if they're gonna make that stop sign at Parkside. And there's a lot of kids on my street that play outside in the street. My kid doesn't. But that scares me because people are flying. And I know you guys have talked about traffic, speed zones and stuff like that. And I know that a lot of times people are sitting in the parking lot. But we all know that they're there. You tap your brakes and they're not there, and you gun it. And I lay in bed and I can hear people revving their engines flying down the street. So it's a little concerning.
So we will add that to our list as far as extra patrols and stuff. Really, what changes behavior is getting citations. I don't know any officers that like to write tickets. I hated writing tickets because people don't like you. But that is what changes the behavior of people. So that is what we try to enforce, is that if you're going to go out there and we have a problem area, specifically a problem area, then we're writing the citations. And what else changes your behavior than getting a $150 ticket or whatever? So that's the first part. The second part, as far as them leaving First Place, the first thing we recommend is look outside, right? Look outside. Do you see anything suspicious? I get it, things can happen very quickly. If they ever feel like they're not at ease, they can call us and we can actually go sit in the parking lot while they walk out to their car. We have no problem doing that. Now, every night, I don't know that we want it, or we can. I don't know that we can do it every night, but we will certainly try to when we get those calls.
But have you communicated that to Lisa and her staff?
We actually have been out there before.
Okay, awesome. And I don't work there, so I don't really know. I just,
Yeah, we've been out
go
there.
occasionally.
First of all, thank you for doing this. Secondly, appreciate everything the police do. You guys do a fantastic job for the most part. Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is in regards to technology. Why don't we use more cameras for monitoring on top of the school, at the strip mall? Plenty of cameras inside. I'm not sure if there's any outside. There's only so many streets coming in and out of the subdivisions. Why not put them on the lampposts there? You can monitor the license plates. You can see suspicious characters. You can get close-ups. Everything else. So, in lieu of having a shortage of officers and patrolmen and stuff, why not use technology like everybody else is right now? Thank you.
So our village manager is smiling right now because he loves technology, and this is something that we've talked about several times. It's something that's in the works. It's something that is very, very expensive, and the other towns that have started doing this have just started doing it because of the amount that goes into it. It's not just as easy as buying a camera and sticking the camera up. There's a whole software system that goes with it. There's monitoring it, there's recording it, and you got to store the recording. So there's a lot involved in it, but it's something that we are working towards, and we will be there. We'll get there.
Good evening. I know you mentioned that you kind of cherry pick some of the criminal activity up, especially related to the commercial areas. As a resident in the area, you mentioned the vehicle break-ins. Part of the reason I was honestly here tonight is to learn more about the kind of activity going on in the area. So besides the vehicle break-ins, I know you don't have examples of the exact situations, but can you give us any kind of idea of any other criminal activity specifically you're seeing in the residential area? You mentioned Ruse break-ins not being a current issue, but have we been seeing residential break-ins? You mentioned like what to do when you're on vacation. Are we seeing houses get broken into when people aren't home? But just a rundown of criminal activity in the residential area.
Sure. We are not having residential break-ins in this area. Lieutenant Lawrence, you read the reports every day. Is there anything that they need to be aware of? What I covered is pretty much what is going on. It's pretty quiet. It's a quiet area besides those issues that we had.
Can you speak about drug use and drug activity in this area?
Again, not a lot of drug use or activity in this area. We see it in some other areas, but not up here.
Have a question, sir?
Thank you, Mayor and trustees, for setting this up tonight. Again, supporting the blue, we all do. Thank you very much for everything else that you do, without a doubt. Thank you for everyone for being here, too. We've lost a few people, but just the concern of the neighborhood is just heartwarming, without a doubt. I'm a 34-year resident to this area, too, so thank you all for that. A quick question here and a comment that's going to come from it. Lieutenant, you spoke about the rules of engagement that we have when someone invades our home and how and what we can do. I'm sure these are not your personal, but these are laws that are created that we have to follow. Is that correct, sir? Yes, sir. All right, so it's not Hoffman Estates, it's not the lieutenant, it's not them. It's the politicians that we elect that make these laws for us. All right? Keep that in mind as we think about that. That's who's responsible. Every time we go into that voting booth, it's our responsibility to make sure our values are represented, not the values of other people who are then going to say to this poor woman who finds somebody in their bedroom and I can't do anything about it, let me call the police. We're going to react as quickly as they possibly can. So it was just my point on that. Second one that I do have, though, is the Safety Act that is coming into play here that our governor is now going to put in effect. Do we support the Safety Act? If you do, why? If you don't, what can we do as citizens and what can we do to help to support getting your word on the Safety Act and your feelings towards it back to our governor and our lawmakers? Thank you again.
So the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police, which is really all of the chiefs and the towns around here, we all are in agreement that although when the Safety Act came out, there's a lot of things that we did not like about it, but there has been continuous trailer bills and continuous changes to the Safety Act, which has made it better, and there's changes that are still going to come. So it's a work in progress, and I think that are some good things about it. I think, and like I said, I talk for a lot of us. There's some good things about it, and there's some things that we're working through. There's some things that are not going to work, and then once it's realized that they're not working, then there'll be something to fix it. Like I said, they've already submitted several trailer bills that has made it better, I think. Did that answer your question?
A little bit. So right now your support is waivers depending on how that's going to be, or you support it as it is now? Where exactly do you stand?
We are not saying let's get rid of this bill. We're not saying, hey, this is horrible, let's get rid of it. We are saying that let's continue to talk about it and make changes and see how things go. So it's going to stay around, it's going to be here, and so we just all have to work through it. What is it? Well, this meeting will go for another 5 hours, but It's very, there's some changes in some crimes that are citations in lieu of arrest. There'll be a no bond, no cash bond, so.
The
Crime Reform Bill. So if you guys Google it, Crime Reform Bill, there's been a lot of changes. I mean, I really could be up here all day talking about it. So there's some good things about it, and there's some things we're still working on.
Good evening, everybody. A moment ago, I heard a question asked about what should I do if I'm pulled over by an officer. Chief, I have some comments as a prior ARP teacher of driver safety. I'd like to offer them and ask you to comment on them. One of the first things that I think a driver should do, and again, I bow to the officers here and thank them for what they do, is acknowledge the fact when an officer's, if you want to call it, the lights are turned on, you hear the whoop whoop or whatever, obviously you're being pulled over, is acknowledge the fact that you recognize the officer behind you by putting on your turn signal. If you're on a main street where there's a lot of traffic and this occurs, and you have a side street to pull off onto, put your turn signal off and pull over to the side street. I'm sure the officers would appreciate that because they don't have to stand in a busy traffic street and park their car diagonally behind you and then sit out there and hope nobody cracks them on the way by, okay? Another thing you can do is put your hands, well, let me back up a minute, is you're in a car, your door's auto-locked now for most parts, or you have a newer vehicle. Roll your window down approximately this much to allow for communication between you and the officer as the officer approaches the vehicle. Put your hands on the steering wheel and leave them there. If the officer asks you for something or he doesn't, you can ask the officer, "Officer, my driver's license is in my visor. Officer, my driver's license is in my glove compartment. May I reach for that?" That's being done to protect these officers who are worried about whether you may or may not have a firearm, okay? Another thing at night, if you happen to be unfortunate enough to be pulled over, my recommendation to you is to turn on your interior lights and place your hands on your lap. If you're in the back seat of a vehicle, driver, put your hands on the steering wheel. This gives the officer a heck of a lot more comfort, and you may find yourself engaged in a little bit more friendly conversation with the officer. Just a tidbit of you. Please comment if you think I'm wrong.
Well, I would hope that our officers are friendly all the time, but yes, everything you said is great. My only change to that is that when you said open the window this much, we actually like you to open it all the way. It's just the communication, it's easier. There's no miscommunication between the officer and the person.
And Chief, I just want to add one thing. My father told me a long time ago, when you get stopped, he's stopping you for a reason. And whatever he asks you to do, just do it. Don't argue with him. Just do what he's asking you to do. And he wants to protect you as well as you have to protect him. And all the things that gentleman just said, and especially at night, and you get stopped on that, turn the interior lights on so he can see what's going on. But whatever, just do what he's asking you to do. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. Thank you to all the officers for everything you do. I had two questions, sorry. One is, can you request that a speed bump be put in your neighborhood if you have a lot of kids in that block? And then my second question was just a generic one. Like, sometimes I feel like when I'm driving on the roads, not just here, but everywhere, it feels like the Fast and the Furious movie, where you've got these cars like racing. And is there any rules around that regarding like what to do with, like noise or racing or, those are my two questions. Thank you again.
So the speed bumps, again, something that's not really my area, but what I will say is that from what I understand, they can damage your vehicle. Even if you're not speeding, they can cause some damage. And then I think it's difficult for some of the first responders that are trying to get somewhere. So again, not really my area, but that's what I've heard about the speed bumps. And then as far as the drag racing, I think you're talking about drag racing. So yeah, we'll identify where there's areas of drag racing. Right now it's over on Gulf Road and most of it's in Schaumburg, but it hits us a little bit. And we used to have out west drag racing, we got rid of that. Lakewood used to be a drag racing area, we got rid of that. So it's basically just traffic enforcement. Let us know what's going on. We write tickets, we make arrests on those a lot of times, and then that will get them out of the area.
Yeah, the speed bumps have been brought up several times in the past also, but they can wreak havoc with vehicles, as the chief was saying, particularly fire apparatus, and then you got the snowplows. That's a real problem, speed bumps.
Just have one follow-up question. Have any of these robberies by the Charlemagne subdivision across the street in either one of those two malls, maybe the liquor store, been armed robbery where the gun was pointed at the clerk's head? Can you comment on that? Thank you.
Where the subject was assaulted, the subject said he believed he saw what was called a wrapped gun. So not specifically a gun pointed at him, but just a wrapped gun, what he thought was a gun. And that's the only instance that a gun was mentioned.
The wrapped gun would still do harm or kill you or nothing?
Well, if it's a real gun, but it's hard to say. Some people, I don't know that you would wrap a gun if I don't know. It could be a BB gun. We don't know, so.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to add?
Yes, you mentioned these crime crews. There are like 3 or 4 people involved in a crime crew. When these crime crews are apprehended, are you finding that most of them are from what I would call like locally grown crime crews out from the suburbs? Or are a lot of these crime crews being exported out of the city of Chicago and coming out to the suburbs these days?
I could tell you that when we're talking about the organized crews, that is mostly coming out of either Chicago or Rockford, the ones that we've identified. So I can't speak for everybody, but the ones that we've identified, that looks like that's the areas they're coming from.
Anyone else? I want to thank everybody for coming. We did hear your concerns and your questions, and I want to really thank all the officers for coming. I think it was a very informative Office, did you have something you wanted to add?
I just wanted to say one thing. I've heard the term wish list mentioned a couple of times. We have budget meetings coming up, and I chair those for the Finance Committee. And whatever the chief and the village manager come before us and ask us for, almost 100% of the time, in my experience in 15 years, we give them what they ask for. It's well thought out, it's justified, and they have our full support. So when they say we're adequate, and if it's not, we'll fix it. That's all. I just wanted to leave you that assurance.
Okay, anybody else on the board have anything? One last time, any other questions? If not, the chair accepts the motion to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Yes, we are adjourned.